So a lot of people have trouble maneuvering the trailer in a tight, well, not even a tight spot. They just want to move it over just a little bit. All right. They find themselves overshooting it or going right back to where they were. It can be tricky because it's such a big piece of equipment and you only need to move over a couple of inches. So let's go ahead and just move over. I suppose this is a foot, maybe a foot and a half. So we're going to move over here. Now, first of all, these are the mistakes that you're going to be making. All right. You're going to be overshooting it. It's much more easier to overshoot than undershoot. So people have a tendency of turning to the right. All right. And then they're waiting for the axles to get to the line. All right. Well, if you wait till the axles get to the line and then you start turning to the left, you're going to overshoot it because it's still going to keep going to the right. All right, it's still going to the right. Even though the truck is going to the left now, the axles are still moving to the right. They're going to keep moving to the right until your trailer becomes parallel with the line. Then it's going to stop getting closer to the right. Then it's going to start going to the left unless you stop while it's parallel. All right, so it's still moving over closer because it's making a curve. All right. Now, if you decided to straighten up right around now, well, now we're heading in the other direction. So let me just tell you that you're going to have to start turning before you believe where the axles are going to be. You're going to have to kind of predict the future a little bit, all right? Now, trial and error. So we'll turn to the right. We're going to keep turning to the right. We're not going to turn hard because we have the room. We're going to turn to the left here and then straighten up. Now, I like where I'm at right now. I'm actually pointing towards the line, and that's a good thing. All right, so let's go ahead and get myself in a straight back. I'm going to leave the axles there where they are for a second because I need to straighten up, or I might even just do a little bit. All right, so now I'm straightening up and get those axles straight. Now, the next thing I need to do when I'm looking in my mirrors, I need to bring the front of the trailer to the right because I need to get myself parallel. All right, now the slower you go, the easier it is to control. So right now I'm going really slow. So if I crank my steering wheel to the right, all right, I got way more control. All right, let's go back to the left so I can straighten up in the shortest distance. And it's maybe we are not quite parallel yet. So now the slower you go, the more you can crank it to control. The faster you go, you got to use distance and slow turning. Hopefully that makes a little sense. All right. Anywho, so we're right next to the line. I do believe I'm satisfied with that. All right, let's move it now. Let's move it over to the other side. Okay, let's just finish this back. So now we need to get over to the other side. Now there's a few ways. Now let's say we always got to look at the room in front of us. All right, how much space we have. So let's say we have little space. Okay, let's go off to the left. All right, all the way. All right, and this is what I'm going to do here. All right, I'm going to turn, get my trailer pointing towards the left. All right, let's go a little bit more. All right, so I'm going to crank my steering wheel to the right, which is going to straighten me up in the shortest distance, and then I'm going to drive straight. Now, by driving straight, all right, it's actually going to bring the axles closer to this line. Now, the trailer, if you're just looking at this part right here, it's not going to get any closer. But the closer the axles get going forward, the closer it's getting to the line. So a lot of time, well, I just drive forward, and it's getting closer and closer. I don't have to do any maneuvering whatsoever. All right. And then when it gets so roughly close to the line, now depending on the angle that you're currently at, but right now I'm barely at any angle, so I can get pretty close to it, then I crank to the right. And before it gets parallel, you're going to have to kind of use your mirrors in this stage. All right. You need to start straightening up. So let's go forward again. So I'm going to go hard left to straighten up. And I will look in my mirrors to see how I'm looking. And maybe I need to straighten up a little bit more, so I'll turn to the right. And the less room you have, the more steering you got to do. All right, so let's go ahead and go all the way to the left again. And let's stop once we're dead straight. Boom, dead straight. Now, as you can see, we are basically parallel. We can fix that on the way back. So let's get our steers pointing straight. And let's start backing up. Small maneuvers. Just so you can maintain yourself. Always looking in both mirrors. There we go. So another way to bring it over. So we're going to move over to this line. All right, because we don't have a lot of room. I can't just turn to the left and turn to the right and do that serpentine motion, okay? But let's go ahead and do that first before we do the other way, all right? So we have to move over a lot of distance, and we have very little in front of us. So we go forward. Now, especially if you've got very little room, all right? So we got to go forward. Let's stop. Now, and maybe we got to turn the steering wheel all the way to the right. Or if you are big into not turning the steering wheel when you're stopped, then fine. But you got to go really slow and then turn the steering wheel. So now we're going to turn to the right. Now, this is where a lot of people make the mistake, is right here. All right. A lot of people turn back to the left right around here. Okay. When they're just, you can't do that. It seems kind of weird, but you got to keep the steering wheel turned to the right, because now we got to rotate the back. All right. So we're going to keep her going. The rotating is the most important part, I believe. Okay. So now we'll straighten up before we hit the wall. We have to straighten up. Otherwise, we're just going to lose whatever we just did. And let's just stop. Okay. So that brought us over a little bit. So now we got to go back to the right, because we got to get our trailer pointing to the left. All right. Otherwise, we would follow the same path that we were just at. And now all the way to the left. Now this part, we got to hold it. Don't do any steering. And keep holding it. 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 And then straighten up. And that is one way. There was a lot of steering going on there. Okay. So that's one way. Another way is to go straight. All right. And then we're just going to go off to the left. All right, and we're going to use the area over here, because we have a lot more room over there to the left than we do in front of us. All right, let's go a little faster. We're just basically resetting ourselves up. All right, go off to the right, and then back to the left. And that's roughly around there. Now get our steers pointing straight. Just do some maneuvering. I probably overdid that. I'm sure I did. Maybe not. Yeah, well, if I did, I did. Let's go ahead and reduce this angle so it gets my trailer pointing back to the right. There we go. That might have fixed. And we can just keep her going. And there we go. So that was another way to bring it over. Probably overshot a little bit, but at least you have some options. Another little tip that will kind of help you. Let's say you kind of just you want to keep it completely away from this truck. Now, is pulling forward. All right. Now we want to center ourselves in the space. All right, just because we want to be nice. All right. But instead of going to the right and to the left and to the right again, straightening up, it's just there's another way to kind of think about this. Okay, it is now pulling forward and then aiming the back of your truck towards the center of the space. Okay, like you'll see in a second here now, right? So I'm going to go forward, and now I'm going to go off to the left, right around here. So just go off to the left, and roughly around here. We're going to straighten up. All right, are we straight yet? There we go. So now we are pointing towards where we want to go. So let's get those steers straight. This is how much I love the straight back. So we're just going to drive straight. That's going to bring the center of the axles towards the center of the space. There we go. We'll try to maintain that straight back. All right, so we're watching everything. We're watching where the truck would hit if I kept going to the straight back. So roughly around here. So we're already starting to jackknife. So I'm going to go ahead and now what I'm doing here, right? I always like to picture this. All right, I want the front of the trailer to go to the right, so I'm going to turn the steering wheel to the right. All right. Now of course, we have to correct it before we finish. So let's go ahead and correct it, meaning straighten up again. We're not quite parallel yet. Nearly there, and we are there. So now we're just going to finish our straight back. All right. And that's another way to look at it. And that kept me away from this guy the entire time until the very end. So here's a position that you're going to find yourself in a lot, is that when you're in a truck stop and you're too close to the trailer on the right, and if you keep going, your mirror is going to hit this guy's mirror. Now, There's nothing wrong with that. I do this all the time. I just basically back myself up as much as I can go before I hit something, and that allows me to have a lot more room to pull forward. Now, again, when you are too close to everything on the right, you got to take into consideration the swing of your trailer. So let's now we have the blind spots turned on, so I have to hit this button over here. Okay, so we're going to turn to the left. All right, maybe just one rotation. I don't want to crank it too hard because if I do, the swing will hit the guy on the right. So off to the right. Okay, I'm going way too fast. Okay, there we go. And let's go ahead and straighten up the truck and trailer. And let's just drive straight. Okay, well, now we're just driving straight. The more we drive straight, the further we are getting away from this guy and allowing us to see in both mirrors and everything around us except for what is directly behind us. Okay, so at a certain point, I'm going to crank the steering wheel to the right. Let's go ahead and just do it now, all right? What's happening is that, yes, I'm not all the way over right now, but that's not the point. Right now, I'm just trying to get myself pointing, having my trailer pointing towards the center of the space. All right, I'm going to let the straight back bring me over and then correct it towards the end. All right, so looking good. I'm keeping an eye on that mirror right here. And let's go ahead and stop right about here. Okay, so now we're in a dead straight back. Let's take a look. Yes, we're pointing towards the center of the space, and that's great. So now we just drive backwards, nice and slowly. And now we can start turning. Well, you can start turning around here if you want to, just a little bit. And of course, we do end up losing everything on the left over here now. All right, let's go ahead and straighten up again. Let's just take another peek. There we go. Okay, looking good. Let's go back to the left again, because we're not quite parallel. All right, looking good. Oh, there we go. Again, small little movements, the more, all right? Especially if you don't need to do that much. And if you didn't understand any of that, please leave in the comment section and I'll try to do a better video. That's the great thing about this. I can make videos really quickly. All right.